Hi everyone, I'm Zach from Meridian Media, and I'm a commercially licensed drone pilot. We own a DJI Mavic 2 Pro, which allows us to shoot some truly breathtaking aerial scenery. The Mavic 2 Pro can shoot 4K video in 10-bit D-Log, which just gives it an enormous amount of color information and latitude for a camera its size. This gives you flexibility to make adjustments to exposure or to change the color palette of the footage that you shoot. Now, shooting in D-Log does require some deeper understanding of color correction. So I'm going to show you how to use Premiere Pro to make a basic contrast adjustment on your drone footage and to apply a specialized LUT to stylize your shots. This is some footage that I shot in Wyoming. And right out of the camera, you can see how it lacks contrast and saturation. To begin correcting, we should make sure that we have the proper windows visible in Premiere. I have my shot queued up in the timeline and within the program window. My Lumetri color panel and Lumetri scopes panel are open. We will use the scopes to keep an objective eye on the contrast and color of the image. I use the waveform RGB to judge exposure. The numbers on the left of the graph represent exposure values. 100 is pure white and 0 is pure black. Anything that extends over 100 or under 0 on the graph is clipped, losing that color information. A high contrast image will have both deep blacks and bright whites that extend near the edges of the scope. We will use the curves window in the Lumetri color panel to add contrast to the image. With a simple S-curve, we can deepen the shadows and extend the highlights. We want to adjust this independently for each shot, depending upon its specific exposure qualities. And you always want to compare how the shot looks to your eye and how the exposure values look in the waveform. Once we have better contrast, we can apply a LUT to stylize the footage. LUTs are pre-made color filters, which are quite popular and available in a lot of places online. I'm using a LUT that I created called Lush Greens, which is available for free download in the link below the video. This LUT could be used on all sorts of footage, but I specifically made it to assist with a common drone situation, which is unhealthy muted grass and foliage, like we see in our corrected shot here. To apply the LUT, I will work out of the creative window in the Lumetri color panel. Under Preset, select Browse, then navigate to the directory where your LUT is stored, and select it. You should notice it immediately applied to the shot. We can toggle it on and off to see how it is affecting the footage. On the vector scope and Lumetri scopes, you can see the hues and saturations found in the shot. The longer the white cluster extends from the center of the graph, the more saturated those hues are. Colors extending beyond the white hexagon in the vector scope are not considered broadcast safe and should be desaturated. Notice how this shot naturally starts with the composition leaning toward yellow and blue hues. When we apply the LUT, it brings life into the greens and desaturates some of the blues. Below our preview window are several sliders that give us the ability to make adjustments to the LUT. We can increase or decrease the intensity of the effect or the saturation of the image. We can also push specific colors into the highlights or shadows with the tint color wheels at the bottom. Since this is a particularly muted shot, I will increase the intensity of the LUT and give it some additional saturation. That's looking a lot better. Let's try correcting a different drone shot. This footage was captured over a golf course, and right out of the camera, it's naturally more saturated than the prior shot. We still need to increase its contrast, especially in the shadows. I'll add an S-curve to the footage to pull the shadows down. I'll put a point in the curve to push our midtones back up. And I want to ensure that I don't clip the sky, so I'll put a point in the highlights to clamp them in place. I'll tweak the points until I have the shot and the waveform looking better exposed. Then I'll apply the same LUT as before. Notice how the effect shows through more intensely in this shot. I'll dial back the intensity, and then I'll push some red into the shadows to clean up our blacks. I'll also add some blue into our highlights to bring the sky out a bit more. This shot is looking a lot healthier now, without appearing too unnatural. With these tips in mind, you can quickly and efficiently color correct your D-Log drone footage and apply a LUT to stylize it. If you enjoyed, please download our free LUT and subscribe to our channel below. Thanks.